Whiskey Happens, episode one. Here we go from Virginia, Texas, and Germany. I've got DJ Gray on one side. I've got Travis Martin the other. I'm B-Rad. We are Whiskey Happens, where we talk about whiskey and whatever else happens. What's going on, guys? How are we doing?
I am doing fantastically well. It is still early. I'm
Good.
on my second beverage of the day.
Well, I'm way behind you, guy. I am 6 hours crushing it here in Germany. There's no way.
Wait, did
No
you say
way.
you're behind me?
Oh yeah.
I think
You're way ahead.
Yeah.
Well, way
freaking
above,
ahead.
Yeah, way above, way ahead. Whatever you want to say, man. But we got a bunch of time zones here. I'm 6 hours ahead of you guys out here in Germany. We've got Texas, Virginia in the house. Travis, how are you doing tonight? What do you got behind you, bud?
Doing good. Super excited to start this with you guys. From Texas, we're biggest state in the world. This is what we love to do. We drink. And so got my collection behind me. Just started, that's one thing I love about our group of friends is, we're not like hugely, immensely have all this bourbon and knowledge and everything, but we're learning with everybody. And so that's a good thing. And so that's why we kind of really brought this together for one reason is I want to be with my best friends and try some whiskey and some bourbon and just see what we, kind of come down with. When we were growing up, like one of the things that we talk about all the time is we drank Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, is what we could get our hands on. It wasn't anything like crazy. But one of the things that turned me really on to whiskey was when I started drinking a little bit better bourbon and whiskey. And so like my first one was Basil Hayden. I still drink this. Love this.
Yep,
this is like my mix.
Yep.
This is my main mixer. I don't drink this straight. Sometimes I'll drink it on the rocks, but mainly this is what I mix when I make, old fashions or anything else. So that's really what propelled me into starting drinking and trying different ones. Cause when I was growing up, like my dad drank not expensive stuff, but he drank bourbon and whiskey. And that's what I started drinking it, from him and learning from him, but he didn't drink expensive bourbon and whiskey. So I never did. So
what do you remember seeing on the shelf, Trav? What do you remember seeing from your dad? Like what was there?
Usually he drank like early times. Like that was his go-to was like, and he got the big bottle of early times and he didn't drink his straight. He didn't drink it neat. He drank it on the rocks or watered down. Like, and that's how he always did. And hell, we grew up and when we were growing up, we drank it with Coke. And we were like, and I couldn't imagine drinking it with Coke now. Like
no,
I see people doing
that,
and I'm like, no way, not at all. So, I don't know. How about you guys?
The Jack was always there. The Jack was the starter. For me, it was Jack and Cokes. It was Jack and Cokes in the clubs. It was Jackson and Cokes, in school, and it was just Jack and Cokes all the time. But for me, where it started was actually Ancient Age, which I don't know if you guys know, but Ancient Age is like basically part of Buffalo Trace. And I'm trying to find an old bottle of Ancient Age from back in the day. And I've put some feelers out to a couple websites to find some Ancient Age out there. But I can remember clear as day that my parents would drink Ancient Age and 7-Up. That was their go-to all the time. They would drink that, and that would be their go-to. And I can clearly
we actually
remember,
drank that at your house.
Yes.
Remember this when they would leave.
Right. So basically, that's what was there. The entire time we would have Ancient Age. And at the time, if I would have known better then, I would have saved it all. But I got
a question, and we weren't buying alcohol at the time, but
no.
When you say Ancient Age and 7-Up, I think of Seagram 7 and 7. So is it Seagram age just cheaper than Seagram's, and then that's
Well,
what it was,
right,
or
right. So it starts as 7 and 7. That's where it started back in the fucking late 90s for us as fucking underage fucking kids, was is 7 and 7. And my parents never had that. It was just ancient age. Why? I couldn't tell you that, and to ask my dad now, I would have no idea. But I can clearly remember cracking open the ancient age, and mixing that with whatever we had, whether it was Coke or was it Sprite, 7-Up, whatever it is, water. We would mix that, and Travis just clearly fucking nailed it before I could say anything. Is that's what we would open and that's what we would mix. And for me, that's where it started, is ancient age. But when we got to fucking Blacksburg and we got to, school, there was no ancient. You couldn't go to the bar and be like, oh, I need a ancient age and fucking 7-Up and Sprite. That's not how it was. The only thing on the fucking bar that we would get to,
maybe a Tots.
Yeah.
I don't know what was in a rail, but
You're right.
could have
Well,
been
there wasn't any Jack Daniels in a rail at
Probably my
top of
dad's
this-
early times.
right? Or there, no, that's not what was in a rail or anything. But like the Jack was the only thing that we had to deal with when we went to the fucking bars and clubs. That was it. That was all we had. So it basically went from ancient age to where I stole from my parents. I broke into their liquor cabinet, opened it up. Me and Travis stole it. We would fucking drink it at the house parties. I would sneak it in, and that was it. But by the time that we got old enough, quote, to the bars and clubs, the only thing that we could do was Jack Daniels. The first thing that you can always remember is Jack Daniels, and it was Jack and Cokes, and that was it. And I did that. I have so many pictures that I found that I probably could add right now. But I found so many pictures of us holding dark rocks glasses in the bars and clubs, guys. I found pictures with Travis. I found pictures with you, Gary. I would find all these old pictures, and we would have all these dark drinks. Now, it isn't fucking rum that we had in those glasses. It isn't vodka we had in those glasses. It was Jack and Cokes, guys. We started with Jacks and Cokes, and you can't deny that that's the beginning of where some of this bourbon came from. I mean, just anything else that would come to your mind that you could think of that we started off as?
No, I mean,
Not for me, but how about you, Gary?
my earliest memory in general is actually just whiskey. I had a benevolent boss at Bell Kitchen Cuisine, Carl, who started me out as a bartender, and in, I don't know, rich people's homes, and people were like asking me for drinks, and I'm bullshitting it, and I was never like tempted to drink anything at that point, but like this, I don't know, he could have been my age now, but this cool looking dude walks up and was like, "Can I get a JMO and ginger?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." Like, I really wanted to be like, "I'm fucking 16. Just come on, guy." I was like, "I don't have that." And he was like, "No, right there." And I like look behind me, and I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "The green bottle, the Jameson." I was like, "Oh, Jameson." I was like, "What did you call it?" He's like, "JMO and ginger." And for like, I don't know, in my mind, forever I was cool, but like for like the 2 times I got to use that in public, I felt cool as shit.
Right.
And eventually progressed to Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, and blackout nights in college.
So you
in college.
Barton. There
You
it
remember
is.
a handle that handled us one night.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you say Jim. Jim versus Jack. I mean, I can't remember Jim. You just specifically talked about the Jim. But I don't. Are you saying that the Jack was as prevalent as the Jim? Were they both there equally?
I
Yeah.
would say, because
Brett
I would
was
say
a
I drank Jim and you drank Jack, and that was the big joke. Was like they're basically the same.
Okay.
But I was
We did
drinking
call him
Jim all
Uncle
the
Jim.
time, and you were drinking Jack. And and they called me Uncle Jim because I always drank Jim Beam. I always had I either had the handle of Jim Beam or Jim Beam around, and you had Jack, and then Gary
Okay.
would be drinking both. He didn't care either way,
Yeah,
but it was funny because we always had a different way that, he'd go one of our houses and he'd be like, all right, well, I know I'm going to have Jim Beam there. I can go and have Jack there. So,
Right.
but they're the same. I mean, that's why I love Basil Hayden. Like Basil Hayden, I think what kicked me off because it's made by Jim Beam.
Jim Beam.
And
Jim
so-
Beam is Basil. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Basil Hayden. And so I think that's what triggered me, is that taste, that type of flavor that I liked when I first started drinking a little bit better bourbons and a little bit better whiskeys, was because of that. But I mean, I could be wrong. It's just maybe how I look at it, but
I can't, and clearly it's because I was fucked up the entire time, but I can't remember Jim to save my life, Trav. I can't remember it. I know that having Jim there was the joke. I clearly remember that part. And you saying that, your dad was more Jim than anything, right? That's what you're saying, right? You're saying, yeah. And so to me, it was like, I never knew the difference. I always was Jack.
The thing I remember the most is like Brett was strictly Jim Beam. Like he was not bringing anything else around.
Right.
Yeah.
Another guy that we would hang out with would always have Jim. And I still can't remember to this day. All I remember clear as this day is having always Jack on hand. Always having Jack on hand.
Well, then clearly you just had better nights drinking Jim Beam.
yeah.
I mean, and which is all possible, but I guess what I'm trying to get down to is, was there a difference for us, or was it just readily available? That's what I'm trying to. That's kind of what I'm trying to get down to, is when I go back 20 years, like, was Jim better than Jack, or was Jack better than Jim? Like, this is a terrible conversation. I understand where we're going, what street we're going down here. But
does it have to be? Because I mean, fundamentally, right?
Yeah.
Jim Beam is bourbon. Jack Daniels is Tennessee whiskey, right?
Right. Correct.
So,
yes. That's another aspect. Yes.
They can both exist, and they're just two technically different categories. For those charcoal filtered fans, Tennessee country all the way. For the rest of the adults,
right. Well, but see, that's okay. Yeah. Obviously, like, I'm trying, like, this is me trying to figure out my fucking quote childhood. Like I'm trying to fucking map my bourbon history, my bourbon whiskey, history through all of this. Did I start out with Jack because that's truly the fan that I am, or was it just readily available? And that's what I went with. Like, I'm still trying to figure out my history of how did I get to where I am now? Why am I such a Buffalo fan, Trace? And how did I get there? This is what I'm trying to figure out. This is why we started a podcast of, how did we get here? What is our history, and what does it mean to us? That's why we're here.
Flavor profile. I think it's a flavor profile, to be honest with you. I mean, because Gary and I were talking about this the other day, just on a phone call. We were talking about, he got really into small batch, right? That's what you were getting into.
Yep.
And so he's gotten really into more small batches. And if you look at mine behind me, the stuff I drink on a more regular basis, like this Nichers, I love this. Like, this is my new daily drinker.
Mr. Jam.
But it's bourbon, and it has a similar profile of everything that I really like as a daily drinker. Not to say that I don't like Buffalo Trace, not to say I don't like other types of whiskeys and bourbons. It's, if you give me something and I'm just going to say, hey, I just want to have a drink tonight, just relax, everything like that, I'm going to go for one of those. And I think it is a flavor profile. And I think that's what Gary and I were talking about, is we've gotten attuned to a certain flavor profile that we like. And so we go to that first, but we like trying all the other ones, like we like trying everything else. Some of them just, don't hit the note for me, even though I've got them back here and I've tried them and everything like that. But I mean, Gary, elaborate a little bit more. I mean, in your perspective, because you said this just recently, that your flavors kind of, you feel like it's changed. You were drinking something, you recently told me, and you were like, I hated it the first time I drank it. And then I pulled it out a month ago and started drinking on it and absolutely love it.
Oh, Wilderness Trail. um,
Yeah.
uh, it's a single barrel bourbon, and I swear to God, it tastes like mothballs. Like, just imagine walking in any of your grandparents' closet, and then that's what it tastes like. And so it just hung out on the shelf. Maybe I got it, let's say August of 2020, and it was just like, this is swill. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Put it back on the shelf, and then maybe it was around Christmas time, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna see because I'm feeling adventurous. And I poured another glass neat, and I was like, nope, it's still not different. Put it back. And then maybe February, I pulled it back out, and I was like, let me just try adding some water to it. And I don't know if it's the water or if it just had enough time being open. It's like a whole different beverage. And now I'm like, I should have bought 2 bottles. I love this shit.
Right. You can't go back in time. You can't go back in time to fix that.
No, I mean, I think that speaks to, like, when it comes down to how I got to bourbon. Like, I definitely, like, after college, I went back to Irish whiskeys. Like, it was Jameson all the time, Bushmills, and then somewhere along the way, like, I went, I guess, when I think about it, I went the whiskey route. So, like, started in Ireland, moved to Scotland. You guys know, big Johnny Walker fan.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That was all mostly because of a chef that I worked for, who I fucking hated, but he kept a handle of Green Label in his office. So, like, all of us would just take nips off of it and refill it with water like we were in high school. And then eventually we all threw in together to replace the handle because we've finished it. And then I just started buying it on my own once I could afford it. Went abroad, was shown Blue Label, couldn't afford it, got some gold, and Gold Label is smooth and it's clean. It's one of the rare Johnny Walkers that they put at age to 18 years. Discontinued now, so I should have saved some bottles. I haven't kept up.
I did not know Green Label was discontinued. That I didn't know.
Oh, I misspoke. Gold Label's discontinued now.
Okay.
Well, the traditional Gold Label, then they brought back Gold Reserve, and then they made a Platinum Reserve, and now they're just bringing back 18 year. But I guess I don't know the real history of it, but I have to assume because most people don't realize or forget Johnny Walker is not a distillery. They just blend whiskeys. It was a grocery store man that loved mixing teas together and applied it to whiskeys. And they allegedly have over 10 million barrels in their warehouses, and someone blends it to create the flavor that we get.
Right.
But anyway,
I can remember the Blue Label that we would hit up all the time. We were big fans of Blue Label there for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, for certain, it was like, hey, are you going through an airport? Oh, hit up the duty free. Send me a picture of the Blue Label. What can you see? And me and you would send pictures back and forth of, oh, well, that's a good price. That's not a good price. Right. And I have 2 giant bottles of Blue Label still sitting on the shelf, still unopened. And I don't know what to do with them because I've moved on from that, but I can remember that for a little bit there that we were heavy into the Blue Label, but it's not something. I mean, I'm looking at my cabinet now, and it's the centerpiece.
Yeah,
but it's nothing. I mean, I would trade it right now for whatever fucking antique or 107 or 12-year Weller.
Whoa! Not a 107.
Yes,
come on.
110%. 110%. I would trade it right now.
I say it's better served for you as a showpiece, Ben.
Yeah. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong that me trading that for a 12-year or a 107.
A 12-year, sure, no objections. A 107, I mean, you're talking about something that was just designed for the average working man, right? Like I have no
Yes.
problem. Anyone throws any type of Weller into a Coke. Fine.
Correct.
That's what it was meant for.
Uh,
Are you going to drink a Blue
So
Label
here's-
and Coke?
okay.
You're not.
No.
It's
No.
all about the prestige, you know, like it's a sign of like businessmen would keep a bottle in their office, lawyers have it in their drawer. It's one of those things. Course, now things have turned a little bit, and sure, you walk in your friend's house and you see a 107 or a 12 year and you're into bourbon, you're going to be like, hey, let's open that.
Show me that piece real quick. Bring that out of your cabinet. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's how it was with us for Blue Label there for a little bit. What, maybe 5 years or so? We wwere traveling around. We were going to this country, that country, and we would go to the duty frees in the stores, and we'd be like, "Hey, Gary, you got. Are you seeing some Blue Label?" And you would send me pictures. I'd send you pictures, and we'd buy Blue Label because that was the hot shit for a little bit.
Yeah,
and it was, but bourbon has taken over a lot. And this podcast is post fucking COVID. And since COVID, it has really taken off to even just us here starting a podcast.
Which is fucking unfortunate. Not the podcast, but bourbon picking up because people have nothing better to do and they're not at work. So these lines that I used to stand in for to get bourbon allocated in Virginia, of course, we have the ABC, wasn't a big deal. But now that you have all these people that work from home or don't work at all, and they still have money, they're in these lines. So an hour line is turned into a 2 hour line, or getting a Pappy is turned into, nope, you didn't wake up at 4 o'clock this morning.
No. Yeah. I mean,
it's funny. I watched a video just recently on TikTok where this guy went to a different state, drove to a different state, waiting from Monday. Happy, drove across state lines, got there on Saturday, sat outside the store Saturday night, all day Sunday. And when he got there on Saturday, he was the 10th person in line. And so they open it on Monday when they get the shipment in. They only had 3 bottles of Pappy, so he didn't get it. He got other things he was talking about, and he was really excited about it. And but it's just like, it's like we said, and from what I can tell is it's gotten worse during the pandemic, but it was even bad before then. I mean, if you think about it, even if you talk to people who've been buying it previously, it was still tough to get some of these real, not rare, but just bourbons that just they don't make that many of. And now you go around. I went to a store the other day and they got them behind the counters. You have to go up and ask. It's like a hidden game. Like you have to know the person, go up and ask them. And it's like, they don't even have them out. And they're like behind the shelves. And then you have to go, hey, you got any Weller back there? And the guy pulls up a bottle of Weller 12 year. And I was like, oh, well, how much is it? And he was like, $200. And I'm like, no, like I'm not going to pay $200 for it. Like, it's just like, I think it's gotten to be a little ridiculous. Like, and I think that's why we're all seeing these bourbon podcasts, these bourbon TikToks, bourbon everything, bourbon and whiskey, everything, and these groups coming together because everyone's trying to pool their resources together to get things for each other. Kind of like we're doing is I can get certain things in Texas you guys can't get, and you guys can get things I can't get. Yeah. So it's like, how do we help each other without killing our bank accounts just to get some of this really good stuff that we love to actually drink, that we're not reselling, we're actually drinking it. And so I think that's where, it's gotten kind of crazy over the last year, but I'm really happy that we started this because we now have an outlet to talk about it. And hopefully we'll get people that, listen to the podcast, write in questions for us to our email address to ask us, like, hey, I am in Texas, you're finding X, where did you find it? And we can help, and we can start this community of like, hey, I'm not a millionaire. I can't go spend $1,500 on Pappy, but I can, go get a good bottle of, Taylor and find it.
Let me ask you this though. Yeah. If you stumbled upon a store and they had Pappy sitting on the shelf, you're telling me you wouldn't be tempted because you're not a millionaire?
No. Good point. Actually, the place that I go, they have, Brad, I can tell you this. They have a shelf at the top and it's a point system. And so however much money you spend, you can use your points to buy the rare bottle. So they've got Weller 12, Antique Weller, they've got Pappy, they've got all these different ones sitting up there. And you can actually, once you get to the points, they sell it at cost. So you hit the point mark, you have to trade in all your points, and you have to pay the, at cost price, which I think is a great deal. Like, I mean, it's not bad, because one of the ones I'm trying to find right now that they have, and I'm working really hard to find is High West. So like High West Distillery is awesome. And Gary and I had this a Midwinter's Night Dram is phenomenal. It's probably top 2, maybe, top 3 bourbons that I love to drink that I think is amazing. And I only had it in Austin. And I thought it was hands down awesome, but you can't find it anywhere because they only make it once a year, every year. And then once they're done, they're done.
That's the part I wanted to clarify for people listening to this podcast. Hopefully people are listening by now. We're talking about the 2020 Dram, not any other year. Because I've had the 18, did not taste anything like the one we had.
Guys, I don't know this. I don't know this story. What
did you pictures all night?
That was I'm sure it was so long ago. So you guys had which bourbon? So okay. So here's the thing. Gary and I met in Austin, met up right around Christmas time. It was actually Christmas. It was the day after Christmas.
Yeah, day after.
2
days
after Christmas. Day after Christmas.
Okay.
Kathy and I drove down to Austin to meet up with Gary, and we stayed at this place that was supposed to have this really awesome bourbon bar, and in the hotel, in the restaurant attached to the hotel. Phenomenal. It had the best selection I've ever seen, hands down, any place I've ever been. Never seen the amount. They had OFC. They had things that I've never even, dude, hands down, some of the best bourbon I've ever seen. So we said, Gary, what was the name of the place?
Bar? I don't know, but I just their bourbon list in the chat.
Okay.
Because I said,
but it that's how good it was. And so High West is from Utah, and they make all these really good bourbons. Like the one that I opened up and I drink is it's called Campfire, and it's got this kind of smoky taste to it. So if you want to make a smoky old fashioned, a lot of people like that. You don't have to smoke the actual glass or smoke the actual bourbon in the glass. You can just use this and it tastes just like it. But they make a lot of these, but a Midwinter's Night Dram, they make once a year and they distribute it in November. And I actually went to Utah to the distillery. They didn't have it there.
Wow.
So,
and it's called a Midnight Winter's Dram?
A Midwinter's Night Dram.
Okay. I've never seen it. I have not seen this in my hunting.
They only come out at the beginning of bourbon season and they're gone by Christmas.
Wow. So you're talking 3 months. You're talking 3 months.
Yeah. For people who are in the know, they snatch those bottles up.
Most places and most of the places I've talked to in Texas, like the places around here that get, all the package stores and everything, they said they might get 1, maybe 2 bottles, even the big ones. They said they might get 1 or 2 bottles because they don't make that many. But Gary's right. This past year's was the best, and it's why it's so highly sought after and so hard to get. So anybody out there that has to give it to me or make me a price, let me know. I want it.
I'll look for it out here. I see a lot of High West stuff out here.
Yeah.
I recently picked a Campfire based on your guys' recommendation. And it was from out here in Germany, from a spot out here. And what sold me is that I guess there's older Campfire. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong or know more. But it was an older Campfire where they used to date and number the barrel or the bottles. Do you guys know anything about that?
They do it for all of them. Yeah, they do it all of them. So this is batch 20 and B13. So it's batch 20 of barrel 13.
So let me see the front of it. Let me see the front of it there.
Yeah. So
So then
batch 20, barrel
my
13.
my bottle has then two different numbers on the front, handwritten, of the batch
This is
number and
stamped.
the barrel number.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so mine is handwritten on the front. And the guy in the store told me that it was an older bottle of Campfire that was written differently. And so I picked that up, and hopefully that comes shortly. But that was based on your guys' recommendation, so I'll definitely check out that Campfire when it comes in. But
So yeah, I mean, it's a crazy whiskey world out there with everything, you know. But I think we've the stuff that we've come across that I'm still impressed with is like stuff Brad gets and Gary gets that I haven't never seen. Like I didn't know about birthday bourbon. And then Brad brought out, oh, I got a bottle of birthday bourbon. I was like, oh, you have a $1,300 bottle of birthday bourbon. I know you didn't pay to get that, but there it is.
there it is.
It's
So I want to share kind of, so I mean, obviously everybody in their cabinet has what's your big pick, what's your show off pick, right? And so you know, this is my 12-year birthday bourbon, but it's 2014 Old Forester, and this is, I only have it once a year on my birthday. Obviously this was picked up for me in 2014. You know, Old Forester birthday bourbon. This is my go-to. If somebody says, hey, what's in your cabinet that you really enjoy? Well, it's this. You know, the secondary has got it for stupid dumb prices. You know, I've seen 600, I've seen 800, and recently I saw 1400. Now, because I've opened it, obviously I would never get 1400 for it, but I, you know, would never sell it. But you know, it's delicious. I have it once a year, and that is it. Did I know in 2014 that this bottle would be $1,400 when secondary? No, not in the slightest. Did I think that would
hold on 1 second. I just thought about something. Gary and I came to visit you for your birthday in Germany. Your asshole did not offer us any of that.
That is so fucking true.
Well, this, you know what? Okay. You know exactly where my fucking bourbon cabinet was here in Germany. Did any one of motherfuckers walk over to my bourbon cabinet and look into my bourbon cabinet? No,
You know why?
because it was sitting right there.
Because all you talk about is Weller. So I thought you'd have 15 fucking bottles of Weller sitting in there. Like, I've had that. I don't need to sit here and drink Weller with you.
That was on the front. The Weller Old Forester
was on your shelf.
Oh
yeah, I don't remember.
There was a lot in there that
I remember the goddamn RC car more than I remember the
well
bourbon.
The truck is still sitting on my dining room table, but the bourbon cabinet is right behind it. You guys didn't see it. That's all there is to it. You guys did not check it out.
I think we were just so enthralled with drinking beer. Like that's just what they told us we had to go and do. You're going to go to Germany, you're going to drink beer. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to go drink beer.
And if you guys still came here today, based on everything that we know now in the bourbon world, I would still say, let's go to Oktoberfest. Let's not even pay attention to my bourbon cabinet, because the beer in Germany is actually far superior to what we have in the States. Far superior. I mean, it's just, they call it the purity law. And I'm not going to sit here and fucking run my mouth about the German purity laws. But
no, I think that, for example, like I wasn't even focused on bourbon for the most part. I don't ever, and Brad, hopefully you can share some light on this eventually, the bourbon scene in Germany. Because I remember even when I went through the duty-free shops, I picked up gin that I can't get here. Right. And then I bought gifts for other people. But like, I remember looking at scotch. I remember looking at whiskey. I don't remember a bourbon section or even asking anyone for a bourbon section. It just wasn't my train of thought. And now I'm realizing maybe I fucked up because you seem to have a lot of store picks or barrel picks.
Yeah. So if yeah, I mean, even what you guys were here in what,
October.
2019, 2019?
Yeah, 19.
Yeah.
Before
19.
COVID. Before
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah.
But even when you guys were here in 2019, the bourbon scene was not still as crazy as now in here in Germany. I'm fortunate enough to live and work here in Germany. But bourbon is just now starting to even get a hold here in Germany because once again, everybody's just looking for the next bottle, regardless of where they are. And so you've got people here in Germany that are looking for the same bottles. We've got bourbon stores popping all over in Germany of, just focusing in on that. Now they're big into Scotch here. They're super big into their gin here. But even when you guys were here in 2019, I feel like it's just skyrocketed ever since. Skyrocketed. But now,
I think like looking back on it, it's a missed opportunity because that's the closest I'm ever going to get to Poland, right?
right.
And for all you Blanton boys out there, they have Blanton's Blue in Poland.
Yes.
And not that I've had anything above gold, right? But the opportunity to even have search for that wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I even mentioned Blanton's to you guys while I was there. Like It wasn't, yeah.
So right. I mean, like even when you were here, it was just nothing. I don't even think we spoke about bourbon while we were here. I don't think that was even a thing because you guys didn't even walk over to my cabinet. My cabinet had the Weller. My cabinet had the Blantons in there. My cabinet had the fucking Old Forester in there. But we never walked over to it because we didn't know the significance of it at the time, which people listening are go, oh, well, you're behind the curve. Well, at some point, everybody's behind the curve, right? And us three are kind of coming around that corner. We're learning about it. We're trying to absorb as much as we can. And it was never on our radar. I've been to Poland more times than I can fucking count at this point. But I assure you that I never was looking for any fucking Blantons until now. The next time I go back, I'm going to live on the street in Poland because that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to fucking drop dead on the streets because I'm going to try to go out there and, what can I find? And we've got guys out there now, and we've got them hunting now. We've got them out there hunting away for the next bottle that hasn't been picked up at this point, because I believe it's still possible. Some people are like, "Oh no, it's all picked over," but like, no, because there's always somebody coming behind that curve, whether it's us or somebody else. There's always somebody coming behind that curve, man.
And I think it was maybe skewed just because of the event of your birthday and all of us being there.
Yeah.
That it like took me away from regular scheduled programming. Because I remember 6 months after that, I went to the Bahamas. I forget what island I was on, or I went on a cruise. And my last excursion, I just spent bourbon hunting. Like that's where I got my first bottle of Blanton's Gold. Was there. And
oh, really?
Yeah. And it was just, I went from liquor store to liquor store on the island. I want to say about 5 stores. And it was between the Gold and the Straight from the Barrel. And the shopkeeper, whoever, gave me a better deal. Ironically, because I spoke Spanish on the Blanton's Gold. So I bought from that store.
Yeah.
Because she was just cooler. And once we started speaking Spanish, it loosened the price a little. Not by much, but any discount, that's a guaranteed sale, obviously.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. No, I didn't know that. So you had Gold, what, in 2019 or 2020 maybe? That was your first time having 2020.
Is when I got my first bottle of Gold.
Wow. Jesus.
So it's like I was hunting, but like I fucking squandered Germany. 100%.
Well, yep. I'm here now. And I've got several places that I hit up on almost a daily basis, trying to find, what they have in stock. What is new? What do you have? And I've been lucky to some degree. In some degree, I've come across the gold. I've come across straight from the barrel. Regular blends. I've come across several things. But what even the Euro market is starting to do, and this is a whole nother topic that we can get into, is that Facebook and the secondary world of Facebook is influencing the Euro market, the secondary Euro market.
Really?
Yes. If there was not, and this is my opinion, we can go here, guys, if you want to, or if not. Facebook has created a secondary world, that secondary pricing market that is influencing the rest of the world. I literally have gone to stores and sites, online sites, and one day gold will be, I don't know, 120 euro, 130 euro. And I will come back the next day after buying a bottle and it has skyrocketed to 180 euro. And there's only one way that they know this. And the only way that they know this is through Facebook secondary markets. That's it. There's no like, oh, let me raise the price because one random American in Germany bought a bottle. No, it's literally because they can go to these sites, they can look for themselves. How much are the Americans paying? I'm going to raise my price this much. And so to me, the debate comes, has Facebook helped or hindered the secondary market? Has it helped sell bottles? Has it helped get bottles out there? Or has it hindered prices and hindered the overall market for these bottles?
So do we really want to go down this rabbit hole? Like, I don't know if we want to go down on this episode, if we want to do it on another episode, because I think to be honest with you, this is an entire episode on itself. Like, it's a whole conversation, and not just about Facebook, but just about social media, about things like this, like podcasts, talking about what's hard for us to find. If someone could watch our podcast in Texas and own a store and go, oh, well, they can't find this, I'm going to jack this when I get it in. And so it's like, I mean, I think we could spend an entire episode talking about that, though. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that one, we probably shouldn't directly say Facebook. Maybe social media and influences the social
probably not
secondary market. But two, I think it plays true to the history of bourbon. Prohibition was the start of underdoor background, or as we commonly know it now, secondary market. And I don't know, we're almost at 100 years of secondary markets. So I don't think it's going away, and it sucks sometimes, but other times, like, I've been appreciative. Like, will I pay upwards $100 for E.H. Taylor single barrel? Sure. But that's because I like that. And as of recently, higher proof things, I didn't really know it until like I looked at what was on my shelf. But I'm trending towards higher proof right now in my life.
Why is that?
Old age, gray hair, I don't know. So like, but I know like that's my limit. I wouldn't pay more than $100 for a E.H. Taylor single barrel. But right now I'm in a position to where I don't get it as much as I would like to drink it. And it's just for me. It's not like I'm buying it and trying to flip it, to your point earlier, Travis. But certain bourbons, I have a limit. Like my all-time favorite bourbon right now, single barrel, is John Jay Bowman. Travis, I'm happy to see your bottle behind you. It was
compliments of Garrett
last year, or not last year, when I moved here. The Bowman Distillery is in Fredericksburg. Brad, you'll love this when you come home if you haven't had it already. And it's not confirmed, but it is rumored that it comes from Buffalo Trace, the H Hall.
Really?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Not confirmed, rumored, but
Hmm.
For a
So
readily available single barrel, it's fucking fantastic.
So I've had just the regular Jefferson, just whatever.
Abraham.
I've only had it one time, just a couple times in a bar. But I mean, it was delicious when I had it. But I mean, when you go to Buffalo Trace, they don't talk about Jefferson on there, do they?
No. Well, because this is here in Fredericksburg.
Okay.
The barrels just come from Kentucky.
I see. Okay.
Or allegedly, like it's not confirmed. It's nowhere on this bottle that's where it came from. Nothing like that. And I assume just because it takes time to make bourbon, so I'm sure people sell certain cask to other people, barrels to other people until they can produce their own.
Yeah.
But readily available single barrel 100 proof, $50. Costco DC here has it for $47. Every once in a while, ABC stores sell it for $47, $48 as well. But favorite thing I discovered when I moved to Virginia is that bourbon.
Well, when I do get back, there's certain things that I look forward to. That's for damn certain. For me, if I had to talk about my favorite right now, obviously, if you all haven't figured it out, it's anything Buffalo Trace related. I call myself Buffalo Trace fanboy.
For 2 seconds, I thought you were still going to say something about Jack Daniels. Really good.
No, Buffalo Trace fanboy. I have my tiers, and obviously the price point comes into play. But for me, if I can get my hands on Eagle Rare, Eagle Rare is what I will crush. I will crush a Eagle Rare all day long. I've got 4 bottles sitting over there, I think, to include a mini that I found recently, and that's my go-to. I will do Eagle Rare all day long, and then I have to. To me, it's tiers, and so when I come down a tier, for me, it's gonna be Weller. Anything.
Wouldn't expect anything less.
No, yeah.
Nope.
Whether it's special reserve, whether it's 12-year, and people can argue with me all day long of I am just not the aficionado of it all. And to me, I'm unconstitutional when it comes to all of it. And so whether it's a 107, whether it's a 12-year or regular special reserve, any kind of Weller, any kind of wheat, I am going to grab up from the Buffalo Trace line. That's just where I go. And if I was to go then another level, it's regular BT. I will mix it with some shit here in Germany that I find, some good apple vine here in Germany, and I'll mix the two together, and it's just a delicious drink. But that's my mixer. But since being over here, I have found 40%, BT. I've got single barrel BT over here. I've got just all kinds of different BTs that I'm finding over here, and that I've stocked up on. Most recently, the Netherlands that I sent you guys, single barrel. I've got that, and that's delicious. And so it's just like a whole nother world of imports over here for Buffalo Trace, and it's been fantastic. But those are my favorites that I go to. But if I could have anything above Eagle, now we're talking about double eagle, very rare. We're talking about, fanboy pappies. I'm talking about all that stuff. Like I'm not here to fake anything. Like to me, it's like I've had pappies, I've had, family reserve. I've tasted it all, and it's delicious. It's great. And if I could have a Weller 12-year every day, that's probably what it would be. I mean, hands down, there's just nothing more than you can beat than that, in my opinion. That's just me.
Funny, and I have to thank you both, because Travis introduced me to Basil, you introduced me to Weller, and I forget Double D's or whatever that bar you like going to in Texas. But like it was literally bottom shelf, and that's not why I didn't drink it. But like it was, you remember us sitting there and like she pulled it from the bottom shelf, like it was just a common thing, which Weller always was. So I never thought anything about it or took it for granted. And like I was like, why is he having me ship these bottles to him? Like not even like I guess when I was in Austin, I just had it good. So like things like Buffalo Trace always being available, and Weller. Well, I would say Weller and Weller Antique were readily available. Like I always remember seeing those. But like to look at it now and me being here in your shoes in Virginia, it's just like fuck me.
Right.
Like
right.
This sucks on this side of the world. For us in Virginia, I would say at least in the secondary market and the groups and chats and what have you, the only place to get unlimited supply of Weller is Ohio. There are people that go for, I'm going to call it glory runs, up to Ohio, and they come back with cases of Weller. I've yet to do such a trip, but I do see it in my future.
Listen, the finance, whatever it is, yeah. I'll whatever it takes. I'm there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's different because in Texas, I can find Weller Reserve all day. Weller Reserve, I can find normal bottle of Weller, normal bottle of, Buffalo Trace, no problem. You can get them everywhere. A lot of places are limiting to you can only buy one bottle, but you can find them. And so for me, it's like when I go out and I can't find things that you guys are finding, like just simple things like different forms of Buffalo Trace, no. Different types of Weller, no. Like any other Weller outside of that, like it's like gold here. It's hard to find. You can't find different types of Buffalo Trace. You can't even find different types of Elijah Craig most of the time. Like you can always get the Elijah Craig, the small batch. You can get this anywhere, pick it up. Yeah. It's at cost. It's not even jacked up. But if you want single barrel, or you want toasted barrel, or you want any of those, you can't find them. Like they don't exist, because we get a few in and people go nuts and buy them all. And so it's like, it's getting tougher and tougher. And I think that's why I went to Mitchers. It's because I can find Mitchers pretty easily. And I like their whiskey. I like their bourbon. And the next one I'm going to try is the sour mash. Now I'll have to get that and let you guys know if you guys haven't tried it. I haven't tried that.
Try it at a bar.
Try it at a bar.
I would say for the price point, I'd rather you just buy a bottle of Michter's and then give me the extra $20.
Okay.
That's how I feel about this sour mash.
I don't know enough about it, but I've heard the same thing. It's great, but it's not anything to write home about. I mean, it's definitely, try it. I sent you guys a couple bottles that I found here the other day. They definitely have some sour mash in. I thought about buying it, but then once I was, there was a buddy with me. He said, don't. It's nothing too spectacular. I think there's
you need to tell us about that. No. Well, you need to tell us about that Noah Mills when you crack that open too, because that's the next one I want to try is around that.
Yeah, I did find that Noah Mills. I can race over to my cabinet and get it, but everybody knows what a Noah Mills bottle looks like. I haven't cracked it open yet. Hopefully here soon I can pop that open. But there's a few Bookers to choose from in the Noah's Mill, and I just went with the Noah's Mill. I at the last second I just had to put one down, and I went with Noah's milk. But the Victor's sour mash though isn't. You guys can correct me, but isn't there another sour mash though by them? Isn't there a sour mash chard? Does anybody know?
I
I
would.
don't know. The only one I've seen outside of the one Gary told me about, which was the Michter's 25 year, is I just saw a 10 year in a black bottle.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
looks
it's 10 years out there. That's delicious.
I want to try that.
I've had the 10-year guy here on the compound's got it. But it's tough to find. That one's tough to find even out here. Even out here, it's tough to find. Out here, this here is on every shelf to the equivalent of whatever 7-Eleven you can think of here in Europe. Everywhere you want to go, it's a bottle of BT sitting on the shelf.
Like Tito's.
I mean, whatever you want, this is on the shelf all day long.
Now, do you think that's because there hasn't been enough American influence on actual Germans? And so, like, people aren't buying cases at a time. Like here, like if there was not a limit in Virginia, people will buy cases.
Yeah. It would. Same here in Texas. If you could buy a case of it, they'd buy a case of it and just keep it.
I mean, like, no, there's the data's not in. But for me, what I've found is that if this is all over the place, what is more all over the place that 6-year-olds can buy is Jim, Jack, Makers. I don't know. Throw whatever else out there that is just. I mean, it's just all over the shelf, right? Then at the bottom of the shelf you have Buffalo Trace, and they've got a row of Buffalo Trace, and it's there. But the Europeans are buying the Jim, the Jack, the Makers, and whatever name you want to throw out there. That's what they're buying because they still don't know a thing. They have no idea what
until they watch this podcast, and then they're going to get then you're screwed because they're just going to go buy it just to screw you.
Right?
They're like, oh, that guy, no way.
Yeah. But what I've come to realize, and I didn't know this at first, is that there is the European version at 40% at 40% guide, and they're 70 centiliters. And so Buffalo Trace, which once again I don't know enough, and I don't pride myself on it, is that they send over an 80 proof to Europe, not Germany. It's at 80 proof. I have no idea why, and we haven't gotten a good answer here from any distributor here in Europe of why bourbon is 80% over here. So if somebody wants to ever chime in, send us your thoughts, send us your feedback of why bourbon, not Buffalo Trace, because I've checked several bottles. It is a 40% that they send over here. And so I have a 40% Buffalo Trace stock that I come across. And it's completely different. You have different tastes, you have different smells, you got the whole gamut of different things from an 80 proof BT to a 90 proof BT. Completely different. But then you toss in the 90 proof single barrel from whatever European single barrels, then that's a whole nother taste profile that's out there. So I'm trying to stock up on all those also. But it's something that is completely different from the 90 proof Buffalo that I can get in the States. So it's completely different from what you guys have.
Yeah. All right. So I was thinking about this. We're getting pretty close to over an hour, or at an hour, right over an hour. So I was thinking we can just wrap it up because I want to make sure that we're not rambling forever, because we could be on this for 3 hours talking about this. But I think for the next episode, I think what would be really cool to do, and something I think we could all get into, is one, just FYI to anyone who's listening, Garrett is a chef and has been for many years and has been cooking forever. I think it'd be cool, Garrett, if you know, on each episode you bring what bourbon would go with a certain type of food group or a certain type of food that you've kind of paired with it, because that's something that I would be interested in knowing more about, because I think that would be really cool. Brad, I think one of the things cool for you is because you're in Germany, like you're just talking about, what are the flavor profiles? So maybe for our next episode, you can, you know, taste and tell us about one of the bourbons that is different that we can't get readily in the States. Like what is it? What does it taste like? What's the difference? You know, what are you noticing? And then, you know, one thing that I want to do and bring to the table is I'm coming across a lot of different bourbons that are not ones that everyone drinks every day or everyone hears about. So I've kind of taken it upon myself to start trying all these different smaller bourbons that people might not be hearing about. So I think for the next episode for myself, what I want to do is, and I think we can all do this actually, is if we get our hands on something different. Like I picked up just the other day, this one here, it's Wyoming, and it's called Outrider. And so I've never tried this. I mean, it's in the store. The guy said it's really great. So I think for our next episode, I'm going to taste test this, give you guys my opinion, and, you know, and see how it is. And then I think we could start doing that as a group, is also just on every episode, like featuring a new bourbon that maybe we haven't heard of, because everyone knows about Buffalo Trace. Everyone knows about, you know, Elijah Craig. Everyone knows about the, you know, Blanton's and all of these. And so I don't think, I mean, it's special and we can still talk about those because they are the, you know, the tried and the true, but I think we should also start featuring some of these, you know, a little bit smaller bourbon places that maybe people haven't heard about that much. So, but we'll talk more about it offline and stuff like that, guys. But I think, you know, for our next episode, those are some things that, you know, that everyone can be listening for. What do you guys think? I mean, how do you think? I've been thinking about it a lot because we've got so much different things that we can talk about. We all have different things that we can focus in on too.
Yeah, I think what you said is great. And also, if we do have listeners, let us know what you guys actually want to hear.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the easier way to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great idea, Garrett. I think whatever everybody wants to hear, whether it's whiskey or whatever happens, I think that's a great idea to go with. Thank you guys for joining me. It's very late here in Germany, but I look forward to the next time where we can do Whiskey Happens and whatever else we want to talk about.
Yep.
All right. Well, then I guess that'll do it for our first episode. And for everyone listening, remember, if you like it neat or on the rocks or even with a fucking Coke, Whiskey Happens.